welcome everyone. Just to begin, we're going to go over a little bit of March overview, because obviously it is the month of April, but we need to know what happened in this past month. Just like we always do, just to show a quick overview, this is combined for the entire function of OGE and OGT. Something to see is I added for this month arrow marks of where conversions are improving or not. So in general, we've gotten, this month has been better at converting, obviously, from applicant to accepted as well to approved, which is awesome. It's still very low in comparison to what the national average has always been. However, we see that a conversion that keeps getting worse is from accepted to approval. So in the entire month of March, there are 42 accepted, yet only approximately 43% of these got approved, for a grand total of 18. However, there is a slightly better increase, and the reason why, honestly, is just because of GE. If I broke this down, the applicant to accepted, for example, conversion for GE is a little over 20%. It's 20-something percent. However, for GT, it's still 10 or 11%. So a big gap is mostly in GT, where we do have a high volume. Most of these applicants are for that. However, they're not converting. So just to break it down a little bit by function, this is regionally where we stand. So in the Americas, we're pretty much at the same position we have been for the past couple months of applied and accepted. However, if you look at approved, we're dropped down by 2 spots, which means that, for example, Peru and Venezuela come out of nowhere. They both had less pipeline than we did. However, they're just converting them better. The country that still is kind of surprising is Canada, who was never that good at OGT, and they were always lower than us in the rankings until February. So in both February and March, they've been either number 1, number 2, number 3 in all 3 of the categories. Additionally, looking at the countries they're promoting and the projects they're promoting are very similar to the ones we are. For example, they're still working with China. They're working with the same GE countries as we are. So that's something that's surprising, is that they're just setting they're doing a lot more physical touch points, when I asked the MCVP, and just setting a lot more expectations to actually move this pipeline through. And just in general, this is for GT. Overall, the acceptance to approval is still slightly lower. This is something we've seen since the beginning of the year for OGT. However, the decrease from accepted was only 7 in comparison to 2016. However, because our conversion from accepted to approval is significantly lower, if our conversion was the same as it was this previous year, we would be at probably double the amount of approvals. The next is for OGE, but if at any point you have a question about these numbers, just feel free to write in the chat, or if you're on the YouTube link, there's a chat option as well. So for GE, looking at the same information, for all 3, we're ranked. Our ranking's slightly higher. Something cool is you see in applicants, we actually have significantly lower than the 3 LCs above us. However, we're only 7 away in terms of accepted from Canada. So our like I was saying earlier, our conversion for OGE, at least for applied to accepted, is fairly good. However, it's still not translating from this. It's still lacking in this accepted to approval conversion, and our applicant lower is just not as high as these other top countries have been. And this, in terms of growth, like I said, a lot of the growth that we've seen is for GE. So for both accepted and approved, we've grown in this regard, like absolutely by 7 and accepted, and like we were 200% in terms of approved, and just to give you like a frame of reference as well, this was basically the majority of like what happened in GE in the previous year, because it wasn't a focus. That's something we spoke about like the beginning of last month, that GE was something that was barely promoted at all. You can tell by the number of like the fact that they had like no applicants. If you're curious how in the previous term we had acceptance and approval with no applicants, it's because Expo wasn't separated last year between GT and GE. So it probably means there were GE applicants, they just are under this GT number. So like this 319 should be divided up between the two, but it's not. And that's why it looks like the number of GT applicants we've had has decreased and the number of like oGET is non-existent. Any questions about any of this? Like where the growth come from or any of these other countries?
Amanda, what'd you say?
Do you have a question?
No. But I just missed what you just said.
I have no clue. What is the last thing you heard?
The last sentence.
The last one?
Never mind.
The last sentence I just said was, like before we move on, if anyone has any questions about this or about like any of the other entities in our region particularly.
Got it. Nope, good.
Cool. Thank you, Isaac at Madison. So just to show you like a quick overview of the top LCs so this is not the performance of every LC, it just is the top in each of the like categories. So the highest number of applicants for oGET is in ranking New York City, Miami, and Madison. The most acceptances any LC had in oGET this past month was Isaac at Madison with 5. You go, bitches. But then in terms of approvals, for both oGET and oGET, no LC did more than 2. So only 2 LCs actually got more than 1 approval in oGET in the month of March. So everyone else either did 0 or 1. Same thing for oGET. We had 3 LCs, Austin, Miami, and Madison, each with 2 oGET approvals. And so every other LC, again, had 0 or 1. As you can tell, like obviously in the overview, it makes sense, but here, like the most an LC in the entire month got for applicants for oGET was only 9, was the highest. However, of this 9, we see that 6 of those got accepted for in New York City's case. For Madison, y'all had 5 applicants in the entire month and 2 approvals. So the conversion for oGET is like significantly better compared to oGET. And if you aren't already aware of like the distinction in your LC, I'd recommend calculating like what your conversion rate is for both oGET and oGET, because it really will give you an understanding of like, one, how many applicants you need in both, and now that you've had like a couple months of performance and you can really start changing and shaping your plans based on this. And so again, like the biggest gap still though, like remains, like there is this weird like discrepancy in terms of like accepted to approval. So just to like, I have a couple of questions for each of the next couple slides. I just want you to think about your LC in particular, and then use the chat option to just like answer these questions. Just base this off of your LC's reality. Okay, so first in terms of marketing, what are the marketing activities that you've been doing that are effective? or like what haven't you done? And like, so what is this biggest gap that exists in your local committee, and to not that you aren't at the point where you have the number of applicants you have? And everyone just share like what is the most effective for you, or like, and what is the like biggest thing you're, okay, hella emails is the most effective, and Claire?
And like, do you want me to just say it, or should I type
Sure.
it? So the most effective, or just like what we do?
What do you think's been the most effective, and like what is the thing you're doing that you're like, this has no results for me, or this is like definitely not working out?
I think we've actually gotten a lot of people from like tabling, or at least gotten people knowing about it more and somewhat interested. What probably hasn't worked as much has been emailing, but I think that's because we don't do it as like repetitively as it should be. So people like get what email and then just delete it. So definitely, I think that could be more effective if we either make them more frequent or make like different content or direct it to specific people that'll be more interested in it. Yeah.
Well, what is the biggest, is there something, if there's something any of your LCs do that you think works super effectively, that was something you like haven't done in the past that you want to share, feel free to. And the biggest thing I want to know is like, what is the biggest gap you're missing? So like, what is the reason why you're not at the applicant level you need, or don't have like the correct type of applicants? Like, what is the discrepancy there?
So I like text, I don't know what gets us the most like new opens, but what like really is good at converting opens to applicants for us is like texting them all like individually, like right after they open accounts, instead of like just completely like sending them like the welcome introductory email thing, but then immediately also sending them like a text being like, hey, I'm Sam, I'm the VP at ISIC Georgia Tech. Are you interested in going to China this summer? And so that I can usually get them to apply to if they respond to me at all. And then I like send them a list of links from Simon, and it's a lot really quick.
Cool. This is definitely something like that other LCs can like start utilizing if you haven't already. And sorry, I can't English right now. Sam, did you change anything in terms of like your marketing to do, like in regards to this? Like, have you added your like cell phone number to like a flyer or anything like that? Or do you just text them, or do you do the same marketing activities as before and just change how you contact VPs?
My cell phone number is on all the flyers, but really no one's ever reached out to me first. So it's always been like me like finding their cell phone number on like on Expa, and then like reaching out to them through that. But overall, we've like pretty much kept up the same marketing stuff, just because
Oh my God.
I guess it gets opened.
Cool. So I guess bringing us into conversion, So one, what is the biggest barrier that you have in your LCs of like, you have applicants, why are they not getting converted? Like, is there something, what is both the internal issue, like amongst your LC, and like the external problem that you're facing?
Yo, I'll speak to this one. So honestly, the biggest thing, like, I'm sure there were internal issues, but the biggest thing that for us was actually external. And maybe that was internal because we didn't set expectations with them. But for instance, like we promoted Spain so hard and got so many applicants for them without realizing that it was going to take them like 2 months to even interview back. So just having those expectations with NT partners and whoever we're sending people to, that as soon as they're applied, like they only have maybe 3 days to be interviewed, like having a set deadline basically, which we've gotten so much better at, and I feel like is like the bulk of our success, like to this point now.
Cool. So deadlines with entity partners for sure.
And EPs.
NDPs.
Yeah.
How about for all of your OCs, like what is stopping your accepted EPs from paying when I spelled committing incorrectly?
Like, honestly, mine have I've had like 2 people who've been accepted but haven't been approved yet, who are like really, really like worrying about like paying for the fee and stuff like that. And so we're working on a scholarship right now, and we finished the scholarship. We're about to announce it. So hopefully that'll like convince them otherwise. But like, that's the only sort of trouble. Either people are immediately pay the fee, from like the people that I've worked with, and then or they're like, I don't know, that's a lot of $700 or $600 is a lot of money. I don't know if like I can do that or what.
When is the first time you like tell your EPs about the fee? Sam, if you're talking, you're muted.
Yeah, that's something I can do a better job about, is talking to them about the money first, because I don't know, I don't like talking about that part, and because the other approvals I had gotten before like went through like that because I was like, and I hadn't talked to them about the money, so I guess it kind of gave me this false sense I didn't need to talk about the money as much, which is obviously wrong. I should talk about it more because there are people who are uncomfortable with it.
Cool. Anyone else? What is this gap that's like stopping this accepted to like approval conversion? Is there anything you're missing, any support you need in order to approve your EP? This can be something like internal, something external, something from myself, either like a resource you don't have or like something like a gap you're missing. Okay. If you think of something, or if you like think about the like answers to these questions for your own LC, and if there is something missing and that's like why you're seeing this issue, then let me know. But if it's something like what Sam was saying, I just have to make sure that what a part of EP management is obviously letting them know what the process is, which includes paying a program fee upon acceptance. So that might be something just that you have to incorporate more into your communication with your EPs, and that's where the discrepancy is. So I just wanted to go through some additional like hacks or some additional support we can do to like kind of combat these two like conversions. If you have anything else you want to add that you do in your own LCs, feel free to add it. So this is something Emily was saying. To go from the applied to the accepted stage, the first thing is really communicating with your IR partner and setting a schedule at which you like have the interview with the EPs. This can either mean like communication, like look, within like 24 or 48 hours, we're for sure gonna have these interviews, or it could even be something like instead we can use videos, or instead we can like bypass interviews somehow. That's something you can communicate with them just with like clear communication. Second of all, I know like not allowing this like delay in terms of contacting opportunity managers, regardless of who it is, just because if you, for example, if you wait 2 days to contact your opportunity manager and then it takes 2 days for them to reply, this adds up. And then eventually it's why we see that we have our EPs for like weeks and weeks and they're still not moving along. We talked about this last month, but I don't know how many LCs have like started implementing this. Just creating a WhatsApp group, including like your entire team and especially your entity partner team, and not only using this chat like when you need opportunities, but also to follow up on status of all of your EPs. So for example, if you know that you have 5 EPs that you sent to like Cairo University in Egypt for a GE project, then like come Monday, or come whatever, like once a week, send every name of your EP and be like, what is the status on all 5 of these people? Whether it be that they're going through the interview, or they're like, maybe you'll find out, okay, this person just like never submitted their CV, or this person's just not replying, and that's where this discrepancy is. Also, it helps a lot because then both sides kind of like push each other to get the approval done. So they'll also like support and like following up with you of like, why is this EP like not moving along? Why is this not happening? Something you could do is create like a team book me account, or like one of those like doodle accounts, so that as soon as the EP applies, you can already have like scheduled interviews. And one hack to this would be like, make sure you only have available the next like week or so. That way you ensure that like an EP doesn't set up an interview for like 2 weeks later. Or just like call them the same day instead of even like book an interview time for you. Like maybe calling them and like leaving them a message about like to supplement having this initial like contact with them, and they can be a lot more responsive from there. And then the last thing is, if you have a good relationship with your entity partner, create like a super day, or create like a matching day type of thing, where basically your EPs like you have computers set up with your entity partners right there doing the interviews. Does anyone else have like a hack or something they do in their LC?
I think we're in the process of like planning a kind of super day kind of thing. I don't think we have anything set up, but I know that's definitely like we've been talking about it.
Cool. What marketing are you doing to like get EPs to the super day, or are you just using the EPs that you currently have?
We were going to, I think we started making like flyers that we were gonna, I don't know, email out or put up in like halls and stuff like that. And I think probably also include the EPs that we already have. But I'm not sure. I don't think we have like a set date or anything like official yet.
Cool. Yeah, if you're doing like something like a super day, something cool would be like So definitely the point of it is also like a attraction technique to get like a high bulk of people, and also have like all the stations set up. For example, like have the computer set up for the interviews, have like something set up so that they can like sign their AN like on the spot, or like the payment links. Like if you set an expectation of like, if the marketing for this or like the way you told your EPs about this was like in one spot, you get interviewed, you will get accepted, and then like you'll pay on the spot, then they know like, okay, I'm gonna come with my credit card and I'm gonna set all these things up. That's something a lot of LCs, I know some LCs have tried, just making sure that they do everything like on one shot. That way as well, like it makes it a lot easier that like you don't have this waiting time of like, okay, they got accepted, will they actually go or not? And it gives you a good way to like get a new batch of EPs as well.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else for this that you do in your own LCs? Cool. Just moving on to accepted to approval. This is obviously like where we're having a lot of, or like where we're having some issues, just because like this should be something that is like almost all of our accepted should get approved, because like, yes, things happen, there's a lot of like last minute things we can't control. However, for the most part, once someone goes through the process, you should have like been selling the opportunity to them. You should have been selling like the project to them and ISIC to them, to the point that like they know that it's almost like a guarantee that they're going to go abroad. So things to do is continuously like set expectations during that process with them of like, hey, like we're going to have the interviews at X time, like you're going to have to pay as soon as you get accepted. And next thing is like, be very transparent. This is like something Sam was saying that he's like cautious about. Like, be very transparent of what they have to do. Like, be very honest of like, yeah, there's a program fee, but what you have to do is $700 or $600 for GE's case seems like a good bulk of money. But if they understand, it's $600 in GE's case, but it will cover your accommodation, so you don't have to worry about that. You won't have additional expenses, and this is what the program fee will support you in. Then they're more aware throughout the process that that's happening. And like, not only telling them in the beginning, but also like throughout the process, be transparent of like reminding them, hey, like payment is a thing, like you will have to do it. If EPs are like hesitant to do it on their own, then literally book a meeting or have a phone call with them where you literally are on the phone with them and they sign their AN and pay. That way you're physically there with them, so they can like supporting them throughout. I think something that happens a lot is we forget that like what OGX is like, used to be branded as like student sales. What we do is we do sales and customer experience for like a student demographic. And so all the promotional things we do, all the marketing activities is selling. And a way you can make, another way you can like combat this like money issue is like sell what the uniqueness is of ISIC or of this opportunity. Like, why go on a GT over like a normal internship? Like, yes, you're paying a program fee, but you're also getting like X experience, and the benefits that come with that. And obviously, like, while you're communicating with them, message them frequently, and in the messages, remind them that like they're expected to pay as soon as they get accepted. Emily, I want you to share what you were telling me earlier, just because like, so Madison's very good at this. Like, Emily literally just had an EP get accepted and like maybe 5 minutes later pay the program fee. So what are additional things that you do to like combat this like conversion?
Yeah, so basically as soon as, actually like before the EP applies, we let them know that like once they're applied, we start up by saying like 5 days, like depending on the program, but like generally we'll be like, yeah, you have 5 days to sign the AN, take the leadership development survey, and pay the fee. But like, I'm not gonna lie, like this EP, the one that happened today where she just paid, like we just approved her, like she applied today. And like I basically just told her before she got into the interview, I was like, hey, as soon as you get accepted, like pay this and you're all set. So like literally just expectation setting with the EP, like before, like, or when they're applying is like, yeah, so just so you know, as soon as you're accepted, you'll have, and then like make it whatever like date, like time frame. But like for us it's 5. I mean hopefully it'll go down, but right now it's been working. But say like, yeah, you'll have 5 days to do this, and that has not been an issue. Everyone's been like on top of their game with it. So just making sure that they know, like, as soon as you know, you have to do this. So it's like super clear cut. And like we started telling that to EPs like as soon as they like even make an open or like upon the first contact, like, hey, this is what's gonna happen. This is what's gonna happen. Then once you're accepted, like you'll have this amount of time. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Emily. Anything else, or like any other questions or issues you've been having, or else have been having here? So moving away from like some of this information, like we're gonna go over a little bit of like what the biggest priorities are in terms of like April, as in like the operational month, as well as like going over like the April campaign, like what it really means, because I know there's been a lot of questions and things like that. So in terms of like April focuses, just because a lot of your schools are like ending, something you should definitely know right now, you should look up right now if you don't already know, is exactly how many weeks do you have until you get out of school, and like when your like end date is. And the reason why this is so important to know is not because operations will stop and it's impossible to approve EPs beyond that point, but obviously it's a lot easier while you're still in school with the student market. So and ideally, like you would have all of, or a majority of the applicants you need before you exit school, because again, like it is easier to do like a lot of this physical marketing if you're like on a campus. So in terms of marketing, the reason it's not as big a priority as like it was in the previous month, but like in April, how can we be better with our marketing and get the high volume we need? Just because like no LC right now is at the point where they have enough applicants or enough APs that they're going to achieve like the goals they have set. So because of that, like marketing doesn't necessarily stop. But how can we like make our marketing more targeted than it even has been, and just generate like this high volume of like hot leads and applicants that we need? So the focus in terms of like marketing is really just to fulfill whatever you're missing. And when you look at, like I said, when you look at how many weeks you have left in school, try and like think, okay, I need to get every like applicant possible before we leave campus. Like, because how can you do all of the tabling, all the classroom pages that you need now to ensure that like when you get out of class, you still have these like applicants that are rolling over. And for the big focus and the big priority for April is obviously conversions, just because like at this point, you don't stop doing promotion, but you do have like some level of applicants. Like if we looked at the initial conversion rate, only 14% of this past month's EPs got converted, which means there probably is additional pipeline like that's there. So how can we convert those EPs through, as well as everything that's going to come in April? So a lot of these things we're talking about is, I think a lot of the reasons like these EPs aren't getting converted is also there's not this sense of like doing something fast enough, or setting the correct expectations of it. So how can you create the sense of urgency so they're aware, like Emily was saying, literally I'm going to pay as soon as I can. And one way to do that is externally align with your entity partners, exactly like what needs to be done, so that they shouldn't be a bottleneck for you. Like they should be something that you're cooperating with, working with, and that's helping support you throughout. I think the like idea to have in your mind is how can we approve all of our EPs in under 10 days? So what does that mean? We have to set correct expectation settings for our EPs so that they get accepted quickly. We need to have the correct expectations with our entry partners that they will do the interviews every X, Y, and Z days. Then as well, the expectation that the EP understands, like, why is it that I'm moving on in this amount of time? Same thing in terms of like either yourselves as an EP managers, but also like the rest of your members that aren't here. They also should have the expectation of like, why are we trying to like move someone through in a quicker amount of time, or like why am I following up with this EP at a certain time? Cool. So something I'm gonna share like 2 big things with you guys, and then leave a space for like any questions you might have. So the first thing is, like Spain was like a project we were promoting at the beginning of the semester, obviously, and then there was a lot of issues in terms of like the company and just delays on their end, which unfortunately caused a lot of issues on our side. So something I want to present to you is I was actually working with ISIC in Colombia, and we have 3-month paid teaching opportunities. They literally just opened up. So they're with this company called American Schoolway, which has previously been a partner for like longer term, like 12-month opportunities. And so now we have 2 rounds of 3-month paid opportunities. The first round starting in May, so obviously ending in July, and the second one in June, ending in August. So really it's just like when the EP would rather go and like the timeline necessary. And there's no visa necessary for this project just because it's shorter term. So the opportunity link I have shared here, however, this is for the year-long opportunity, but the JD is basically exactly the same as the longer term one was. It's like a basic teaching opportunity. They also, if you have any EPs to speak French, they'll take those too. And to apply, it's really simple. Like the company's going to be super flexible in when they do the interviews. All you have to do is email. So this is actually the email of Enrique. He's the national director of like, he's one of the like business development directors, and he's in charge of this project. So all you need to do is email him the EP's CV or their resume, their Skype ID, and when they're available for the interview. And the company, obviously, like the EP shouldn't be like a dick and be like, I can only do 2 a.m. But they're gonna be super flexible on like when they're available for the opportunities. And then obviously like as the application is going to be done like pretty quickly, and then we can just make sure they're all like on the systems. So the question I have for you, like first, is if you have any like thoughts or questions about this opportunity that you still need answers to, but also how many EPs do you think you can like get for this opportunity? Like how many spots do you think that you could fill? And think about it. If you have any old EPs from like Spain, for example, that are still like around that you could possibly like push, or any like if you did like a marketing campaign, like what do you think is the feasibility of this project? So by your silences, do I take it as this project is impossible? I don't want to have short-term teaching EPs.
I just want to keep that with a call for the minute, so
I can't hear what you just said, Haley. Can you repeat it?
I just got kicked out of the call for a minute. I don't know what happened, but I'm back now. Sorry.
Haley, can you type whatever you're saying because it's very like muted? Not impossible, but we're still pushing him. Yeah. Like, if possible, I would honestly stop any like promotion you're doing for Spain, just because like the interviews are happening right now, but there is like a delay and they do have like limited spots. And like if like a Spanish speaking country for teaching is something that's more attractive, like take this. You don't need a visa for the short-term Spain opportunity. And like you wouldn't need a visa for this one either, this project in Colombia. So do you have any, first off, any questions that you have either about the project or that I should ask Enrique to answer for us? So, like, how many EPs do you think you could get for this? And like, think of it, you could also utilize this to like sub for whatever you thought, like whatever your initial plan was for like Spain, or if you still had the EPs from there. So considering like pipeline you have right now, or, you know, EPs that you're promoting, what do you think is like the feasibility of like number of spots for this project? Or even if anyone's promoting China and you have an EP that's like, I like the short-term shit, but not necessarily the country, for example. Yeah, but Sam, it's your university, right? That's the issue. If any, I'm gonna release like all the information as well as the opportunities link. But then if anyone has any question about it, just feel free to let me know. Like I said, I know a lot of you were asking me like, what are alternative like short-term opportunities that exist that are not China, for example. And pretty much this is like the only one that we can like really work with. Like there are other opportunities. There's just like maybe like one country has like one or two. One cool thing is because we've had this relationship with this company in the past and we've worked with them for long term, one, what they're doing is they're allowing us to have 3, 6, and 12-month teaching opportunities. So if you have any like longer term teaching EPs as well, same thing, like just email him their CV as well as like what availability they have. And so he's like willing to open up like more opportunities for us if we're able to fill them for these summer opportunities. So like if we need more flexibility in terms of like the realization date, or like the number of spots is something that they're willing to like kind of like give us just because we do have this partnership with them, and we do have like we can possibly give them like qualified EPs for it. But moving on, the next thing I want to like really explain to you is like the answer any questions about the Go Get Approval campaign, and really explain to you like what is this about. So if you haven't seen already, this is the April campaign for oGET is Go Get Approvals, and it's really about who is the best member out there. And is it one of you, perhaps? And in case you didn't know, April is actually like the biggest month for us, particularly in the OGXs. Like just because it's like, especially towards the end of school, it's a huge like peak for a lot of approvals happening for the summer. And the way that happens, the members, right? So what happens is for this entire month, we are tracking activities in these 3 areas. So marketing, conversions, and like the experience the EP is having. And so just gonna go really quickly showing you like what the categories are in like each of these areas. So the first part about marketing, there's some virtual stuff like sharing the Facebook posts or submitting like any blogs or videos, as well as like a lot of these physical activities you're doing. So remember to not only submit, like update your points, but if there's anything you need to send like proof of, just send it to your VPs, like just send them to me, and that'll count as like the proof, for example, that like an info session happened or like the flyering happened to get you the points for that. Then, so for marketing, if there's any category you don't understand what it is, just feel free and stop me or ask. So then the next category is all about like getting these EPs and converting them. So what is the contact we have with our EPs by having like EP meetings, or if your university offers office hours, having this and having like your EPs attend this. And additionally, like it's really important to obviously contact the opportunity managers and follow up with your applicants. So the next, that's what the next thing is about. And lastly, just breaking down like both the acceptance and approvals for both GE programs and GT programs. And then in the last core category of options, it's just like how can we fulfill the best experience? So making sure they do STEP, ISOS, and OPS. Also, all of these are required for the OGX audits monthly. So it's kind of like a bonus that you get points for things you already have to do for your audit. And so just to clarify exactly what happens. So these are all of the things you can possibly get points for, all of the activities you can get points for. So complete the activities, and if there's anything you need a proof for because it said like send a picture, just send it over. And you have to update it on this link. It's bit.ly/gogetapprovals, and it's just this huge tracker, and all of you have your own like name on it. So every member of your LC will be able to collect points. And if it's up to you, if like, my recommendation is that every member just updates it themselves, and that you like hold them accountable to doing it. But however, if you like collect your points in another tracker, for example, anyway, and just want to transpose it for them, that's fine. The points will be checked twice a week, every Sunday and every Thursday. So if you already saw, leaderboard was already posted about who the top like members and top VP were for the first few days of the month. So this is something like tomorrow again by 11:59, which is almost midnight, you have to have your points updated, and the sheet will actually get locked, and that's how I'll calculate like who the top were for like that time period. And so this is what the prizes are, or like the benefits of this is, so there's for the top 3 members, you'll either get $200 off your GE program fee to go this summer, or $150 off your S&C delegate fee. And then for the VP, only one top VP will get the award, and they'll get either $250 either off S&C or a GE if they go in the winter, like after the term. So I just want to clarify and like go through any questions you had about this as well. But yeah, like, so you as like the member or as the VP will be the one to update the tracker. And every like twice a week is when you'll see like who the top person is, for example. Any questions about this or just anything going on in your LCs that you need help with? If no one has any additional questions, thank you for coming. And I'm going to share the information about like the opportunities as well as like continually sending the updates for the tracker and everything like that. So if there's no additional questions, have a great Wednesday evening.